Do you love the idea of personal growth but find the practice of it exhausting?
We get it.
We're Brandon and Megan Giggling, growth coaches with the mission to put the personal back in personal growth.
If you want a new way of growing into the next version of you without the frustration, guilt, and overwhelm, you're in the right place.
It's time to rethink your growth journey and make it into something that works for you.
You in?
Welcome to Growth Reframed.
You are the loudest drinker in the world. Oh, wow. All right.
That's a good place to start.
That's a great place as any. Welcome to another episode of Growth Reframed. I am in a goofy mood right now.
Meg is legit for y'all, just so I can paint the picture. She's literally wrapped from neck down in a red fluffy blanket covered all the way down.
It's cold in here.
It is. Our studio is always very cold.
We're not that fancy. It's just our office.
It's our studio.
Okay. Anyway, as I was saying, welcome to another episode of Growth Reframed. Today we are talking about the morning routine. And the reason I wanted to talk about this today is because so many times I feel like the world wants us to believe that the answer to all of our prayers is basically to wake up an hour earlier. If we would just wake up an hour earlier, we'd be more able to get things done. We'd be more productive. We'd be just really on our A game. And I kind of want to just talk that through today because, spoiler alert, I have really changed my thoughts and my morning routine a lot in the past several months.
You might even say you've reframed your thinking on morning routine.
Yeah, might.
No, I think you're right. And we've had so many discussions recently about time and about, being responsible for your time and figuring things out. And I think a lot of the lowest hanging fruit for that is the morning routine.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that you constantly hear, like you said, people are always talking about it. And I know from our own experience, it did work for a time. And a lot of things we've talked about worked for a time, but consistently over time, especially when burnout and other things come in, I just feel like it's more and more difficult to say that that's a really great strategy.
Especially long term.
Yeah. And I'll say this too. It's not a really great strategy for us. And maybe it is for you. And so like, if you're a person that loves morning routine, we're not trying to harsh on your vibes. Like that's great. It's just, maybe if you feel like it may not be working for you, just talking to that too, because I know for me, like I got to the place where I was like, okay, morning routine, cool. This is the way you start your day. This is the way you get your fresh start. This is how you make it all happen. This is how you set yourself up for every day for success and, all the things, all the reasons for why you would do it. And I am one of those crazy people who was like, you know what? Forget an hour before. I'm going 2 hours before. I'm waking up at 4 a.m. every day.
No, let's not forget that for a time you were waking up at 3:45 a.m.
Oh, I was going to get to that. So
okay.
I was like, I'm going to get to 4 a.m. every day, and I'm going to wake up. And I did this even on the weekend, y'all. And I even remember saying, like, yes, that includes the weekend. And, like, I was so proud of the fact that I was doing this. And then, like you said, at some point I was like, you know what? Let's tick this up even another notch. Let's get this thing up to 3:45. Literally at 3:45, even I knew how ridiculous it was because it was like 7:30 at night. And like, we hadn't even put our kids to bed yet. And I was like snoring and asleep on like
every
either
day.
Our daughter's bed or on the couch or whatever, literally every day, to the point where Meg's like, I'm not sure what the end goal is here, but if you're asleep by 7:30, it's probably not the best. So circle back to 4 o'clock. So I was waking up at 4 consistently for
years,
well over a year, if not years, and it was something that I lived by. And then around the time when I was feeling all burnt out and depressed and anxious and worried and terrible about a lot of different things, it made me look again and be like, is this something that's working? Okay. And so I was like, you know what? I love experimenting. I'm going to try something and I'm going to not do the morning routine. I'm not going to wake up I should say, I'm not going to wake up at 4 a.m. and I'm just going to see what happens. And you know what happened for me? A little bit of bliss, a little bit of really great things happened to allow myself the rest and renewal that I needed, that I was actually depriving myself of by feeling like it had to be at 4 a.m. 4 a.m. or bust. Like, I cannot possibly be successful in my life if I'm not waking up at 4 a.m. And that's a belief I live by, and that's a belief I kind of want to throw out the door today.
Yeah. So just to kind of back up, for us, what we mean by a morning routine is waking up earlier than you would normally intend to get, number one, a jump start on your day, but number two, for us, a lot of work done that you really can't fit into any other places in your day. So for instance, my morning routine about a year ago would have looked something like this: wake up at 4, hop in the shower really quick, get that part of my day done, go take a little bit of time for gratitude journaling and then a devotional. And after that, I would start on some work. Maybe I would do a blog post or do some writing or something else that would, or maybe even just like type up some Instagram posts to post to social for, a week from now or whatever. Just kind of get some extra work done. And to me, that was the morning routine. I started out my day with intention. I mean, yeah, I cheated a little bit because I was doing a shower first, but that's just because it worked better for our schedule. But starting my day out with intention and my gratitude, and then moving on to some time with the Lord, and then kind of getting into a work mode. And I was doing that at 4 because I never knew what time our son would wake up. And so I knew I had to get going pretty early if I was going to accomplish all that. Then when we kind of started having these conversations, like maybe it wouldn't work so well, maybe it's not working so well for us, then I kind of reframed a little bit about what I was going to do. And instead of doing all that work, I kind of took work off of it and just made it more about me. So then I was basically doing the other parts of that. So not the work part, but just the gratitude and the devotional and time with God. And that to me felt way better. And that is kind of what I'm going between right now is, do I want to find another place in my day for that? Or do I want to continue waking up early or get back to waking up early to fit that in? But I'm not doing the work part anymore because that for me was the most overwhelming and burned out part of it. So that's kind of that's kind of what we mean with the morning routine. And it stemmed from us from just our kids getting up so early, our day starting so early, and knowing that if it wasn't 4, it wasn't going to be very helpful.
Yeah, I think the danger is all the things, trying to fit in all the things in that time slot. And a lot of us do, have limited time. We have a lot of shoulds or things that we have to do. I shouldn't say not shoulds, but things we have to do. And the easiest thing to do is say it's all going to fit in that time slot. And the hardest thing to do is to fit it all in that time slot. Mm-hmm. And what I found for me is over time, the actual intentional, amazing time that I was enjoying from the start got smaller and smaller and smaller, where I might have been sitting there for an hour having great intentional time. Let's be real, it's probably like 45 minutes of great intentional time. But the point is, I might have been sitting there that amount of time. Then as it got to the end of this, when I was really starting to analyze it and put it under the microscope, I was trying to get this done as quick as possible to move on with my day. Basically, pat myself on the back, check the box, say I did it, move on with my day. And it was really doing nothing. Mm-hmm. Because the way that I felt like I had to show up and the way I felt like I had to check all of these boxes and do all of these things every single morning, the weight of that really just made me push it away more and more as time went on. Mm-hmm. And I had to really look at it and say, is this something that's still serving my life? And for me, I'm still in a mode of experimentation. Like, I'm trying to figure out what the best way would be. But what I've realized is, no, for me, that wasn't what was best serving my life. And it was leaving me with a lot of negative results, where before I had seemingly a lot of positive results. What I was finding in my own life is it was leaving me actually with a lot of negative results, which I didn't actually point to the fact that that was morning routine until I started to analyze where it's stemming from. And it was stemming from starting my day with essentially a long to-do list of things I had to get done in this time frame. So rather than setting my day up in the morning with intention and feeling good, which I think is some of the things you're working with now in your own life, like trying to get, time with the Lord, trying to get time with some devotional time, or even some gratitude pieces. You can work those in there. But I think saying, well, I have to do all of these things, then what you have to always question is, but are those actually giving you fruit? Are those actually giving you the results that you want? And if they aren't, and even if they were, I should say, are they still giving you those results, or are you just doing them because you've always done them?
Yeah. I think there's a time and a place for the morning routine. Like I'm not even against the morning routine. It's just that right now I'm in a place where my sleep, my rest matters more. And when I'm not doing that, then I want it to be an enjoyable morning routine, time for me and what I need, rather than just like a work time. And for a while, I could bang out some pretty decent work in that 4:30, 5:30 kind of time slot. And then as time progressed, I realized, I'm not a super great worker at this time of day. Like I could have a lot better result with my work. I could make better points and write better things and just do a better job if I was doing this at a time that actually worked for me. I'm not a super early, I'm not a 4:30 a.m. girl, and I'm not a 9 p.m. girl. Like those are not the times that I should be writing and working and doing the things, because for me, I'm just way more in tune with what I'm trying to say and able to articulate what I'm trying to say when it's like early to late morning, not 4:30 morning, but like 8, 9, 10 morning.
Right. You got to figure out the best time for you. And one of the things I would pose to you, because as you were just talking, I'm reflecting on it. Anything like this that you're doing consistently for a long time, don't you feel like it tends to get a little watered down over time? Mm-hmm. Like even really good things, i.e. gratitude, like doing a morning gratitude. Okay, I got to come up with 5 things to be grateful for. And I really do believe that if you're looking for things to be grateful for, you can find more things. Okay? Not trying to take away from that. But what I am saying is, if you do that consistently for a long time, it tends to get really watered down. And what do I mean by that? I mean, you're just like trying to find something, like grabbing on the straws to like just get something on that paper, something in your brain to say, okay, cool, I've checked that box, I've done that thing. Yeah. For me, that's at least what it felt like. Like over time, it's just like, okay, cool, yeah, I did my gratitude, cool, let's move on, I've done that. But I don't know how you felt about it.
Yeah, I think definitely that can be true. And I think that if that's one of the things that is happening to you, like you kind of lost that sense of purpose or that thing you're enjoying, then I think that might be one of the signs that it's time to at least take a pause or do some experimenting, like you were saying, that maybe we're going to hold off on this morning routine right now and see if I can move it to a different spot or find purpose in that again. And along with it being like a watered down feeling, I think just like if you're feeling tired or worn down, that's another time when you might be just like, I think it's probably a good time to pause this morning routine or delay the morning routine or make some sort of change to it to see if there's a place that you can like it better rather than just continuing on and feeling like it's watered down or like you're too exhausted to try it or any of those things. Well,
you always just have to analyze whether it's still working. And I think most of the time, at least for me, I don't do that as much as I should. Like you should really regularly be going back to the daily actions you're taking and wonder if it's still, like have some kind of curiosity of if it's still working. And even if you feel like, hey, it's working pretty well, you should be open to experimenting with other things. Like maybe just shortening it. Maybe, like you said, finding other times in the day where you could work in the things that are great, that are working for you, but maybe you don't want to do it in the morning. See, I was forced by the way I was feeling to change it. And if I wasn't forced, like if I hadn't been so burned out and just dealing with all the things I was dealing with, I don't know that I would have ever even looked at morning routine because it was just something that I did. It's just something I did because that's what I do.
Because somebody somewhere has told you the only way to be successful in life is to have a morning routine.
That's right. And it was more than one person. I mean, let's be real. I mean, most of the people in the growth space are saying you have to do this. You have to do this. And what have I talked about before? I don't want anyone telling me I have to. So I'm telling you, you should do what works for you. You should find the thing that works for you. If you love doing gratitude and you love doing it in the morning, awesome. If you like doing gratitude and you don't want to do it in the morning, cool. If you feel like the whole gratitude thing that you're doing in the morning is becoming a little bit watered down and you might want to change it up and find a new way to be grateful rather than writing 5 or 10 things down or thinking of 5 or 10 things, cool. There should be ways that you can expand on these things, that you can try new things, that you can change it up. And I don't think it all has to fall under the helm of this morning routine that we all are saying we have to do, like you said, to be successful.
Yeah, it's just so funny. Like, I don't know anyone that is a big proponent of personal growth that's not like all into the morning routine. And that's silly to me because how can it all work for all? How can the morning routine work for all of us? Like, we're all so different, and I don't do anything the exact same way as somebody else does. But for some reason with morning routine, I was like, yes, I will wake up an hour or so earlier. Yes, I will practice gratitude. Yes, I will get all my work done. Like, what? No, that's not who I am. I don't like to get my work done at 4 a.m. I like to sit around and drink some coffee. My idea of morning routine is getting up a little bit early, doing some gratitude and devotional time, and drinking a coffee, not going to town on my work.
Yeah, so what I hear you saying really, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but your morning routine is really a self-care routine. Like, you are doing intentional things that make you feel good at the start of your day.
Right. And right now I'm not doing them at all. But yes, when I'm doing them and I'm like, this episode has actually helped me because yes, I'm going to get back to the morning routine. But when I get back to the morning routine, I'm going to continue doing it the newer way that I was doing it, not the old way where I felt like there was 16 things on my list to get done in 1 hour.
Yeah. And it just gets back to, all in all, most of these beliefs, most of these systems, most of these things that people are selling, they're not all bad, but they can be bad when pushed into overdrive. And I think that's kind of the path we fell down.
Right.
We don't know if y'all are feeling that way. If you're in the same place, and maybe you could let us know over on Instagram at Growth Reframed. You could let us know like how you feel about morning routine. And if you've tried it and maybe it hasn't worked for you, if you try it and you love it, I'd love to hear everyone's perspective. But for me, yeah, I think I could definitely get behind what you're saying about being intentional about a self-care and starting the day off right with things that I enjoy. I think a lot of times it gets missed. Why are you doing it? Are you doing it because someone else told you should, or are you doing it because you're actually being intentional and getting something out of it?
Right.
Like, is it making you feel better? Because the goal, the ultimate goal, at least the way I understood it is, it's supposed to be setting your morning out in an intentional way so that you can attack the rest of your day in a meaningful way with your mind in the right place. And when I was doing it, for a time it worked, and for a long time it didn't. And I just kept doing it because that's the way it's always been done, and because I have to be successful. And I just don't agree. I just, bottom line, do not agree for me. Maybe it works for y'all, and if it does, let us know. But until next week, we'll see you.
We love y'all. Thanks for listening to Growth Reframed. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. We would love to connect with you, so shoot us a DM on Instagram at Growth Reframed. We love y'all.